two-step equations. And we're going to start this the same way we started one-step equations with the check. Okay, this is the last step of every problem. So I've given you the answer for each one of these, so you can look at this as x equals 10. Okay. And I just want you to do a check. So plug it in and show you get the same thing on both sides. This will continue to be the first step. I'm sorry, the last step of every problem. Now you have to do order of operations. You got to figure out should I add 2 first or multiply. Of course, order of operations says you multiply. So show that, write that out. You want to be absolutely sure that these are right answers. And then negative 40 plus 2, negative 38. So that proves the answer is negative 10. 100% sure, no doubt about it. Everything checks out. So that's all we're doing on the front, just like we did before. And you'll notice we'll keep doing this. So when you get the next level of equations, you'll get another one of these. It'll just be bigger, and you have to just check it. And, it might be variables on both sides, but it's all the same process. There's always a way to find out if your answer is right. And that's what we care about. It's kind of like on Khan Academy. You don't finish the assignment until you do them right and you do 5 in a row correct. It doesn't matter if you just do it and it's wrong. Start all over. You want to be very concerned with accuracy, not just putting something down. Okay. Remember that fractions are division. Okay. We do not use the division sign on paper here. The only time you really use this division sign is on calculator. Okay. But as far as on paper, you never write divided by this way. You just put over. So 0 over 10 means 0 divided by 10. Okay. And then plus 6. 6. And of course 0 divided by 10 is 0. And please continue to the very end. The last line of the check should be one number on both sides, and it should be the same. Some people are stopping early because they can see, oh, 0 plus 6 is 6, and they're finishing. But go all the way, finish the check easy. Don't short it. Again, your frame of mind is you need to give this to your paper to somebody, and they should be able to understand everything that you did. So if you start leaving off steps, because I can do that in my head, not finishing a check because I can do that in my head, no one else picking that up, meaning me, the person creating your work, understands that. I don't know what you did in your head, that's why you write it down. Okay. Make sure that's always written down. Alright, so that's the checks. You go to the back, flip it over. First thing it says is to write the steps, and then that's what we're going to do today, and then tomorrow we're going to solve and check the answer. We might not get to it, but the steps are the most important. The new thing here is that, let's break this down into 2 parts. Here's like one equation we solved, and we know how to solve that. And here's another equation we solved in one step, and we know how to solve that. And the first one is 9 times x, so we divided by 9 on both sides. And this one was x plus 10, so we subtracted 10 on both sides. So we know the algebra to solve this. It's the same exact thing. What's the only question remaining? If we know exactly what to do, what's the only question left over? What to do first? Should we divide by 9 first, or should we subtract 10 first? Yeah, so when you're solving, you usually do the reverse of PEMDAS, the reverse of order of operations. So the last thing in order of operations is add subtract. That's the first thing you're going to do with solving. Okay. So if there's a plus 10, we're going to first subtract 10 on both sides. Right? Then we're going to divide by 9 on both sides. Notice how I wrote divide by? It's a fraction. There's like some number on top. Right? Over 9. That's how you divide. Similarly, you could do the reciprocal if you wanted. You could multiply by 1 over 9. That means the same thing. So either one, not both. Either one. Hard to. And that's all I really want you to write this time around is what are the steps before you start? Because as we get going, you always want to have a plan before you start solving. Not just do one step and then kind of figure out what's next after. It'll get too confusing. Kind of like you want to have directions where you're going with every single turn before you leave. Not trying to get to some corner and then go This is x divided by, remember, think of the fraction as division, x divided by 5. If you want to, make it 1 over 5. So you're going to multiply by 5, or 5 over 1. Parentheses mean multiply. You could also just use the dot for multiplication as well. Okay. Usually it's parentheses for fractions. So you have this plan before you start solving equations. You don't have to know what the answer is. We're just talking about the algebra, which you're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide. And then when you actually do the problem, that's when you figure out the number and do all the calculating work that you need to. So you notice how algebra is about what you do to get the answer. It's not the answer. If that helps you understand the difference of what you did before, algebra is what you do to get the answer. Arithmetic is the answer. Okay? In algebra class, we're concerned about you knowing how to do this, knowing what those are. The answer's important too, but how you get there is probably more important, especially if there's 8 steps to get there. You want to know what those 8 steps are, not just have an answer and say, well, how'd you get that? And you're like, I don't know. Okay? That doesn't quite work that well. Okay? It's kind of like somebody designing a car and building a car, and they ask them, well, how does that work? How'd you do that? And they're like, I don't know. Build a car. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to explain how you got there, why it works, and have a reason for why it works, not just say, because I did in my head. Go build 5 million of them for me, because I did in my head. I figured it out. Like, you got to write down your steps and prove it works. Okay, that's the step you want to think about. Okay, so other than that,